a wife and a mother, and I'm an artist. So this is something that I do, watercolor mainly. I draw and do other mediums as well as, well, this one's also pastel, watercolor pastel. So that's my thing.
And you live in Grand Forks.
I do.
How long have you lived in Grand Forks?
Well, I grew up here. My husband and I both grew up here.
Really?
And then we moved away, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was born technically in Trail, but because my mom is a nurse here, so she's like, I didn't want to do it here in town, so she went out of town, but right, with all of her coworkers. So she had me in Trail, but I grew up here. We moved away for almost 10 years, I think. Maybe not quite. But yeah, so we moved back 6 years ago, almost 7.
And your husband's from here as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't think I really. You told me that.
Probably. That's okay.
What brought you back?
Well, when we were ready to buy a house, it was just kind of, it was within our budget to come back to a smaller community. But also family. We had family and friends here, and we do prefer a small town, slower pace kind of style of life. So, yeah.
You've got 2 kids?
2 kids.
How old are
9 and 6.
So you already were a mother before you came back.
Mm-hmm.
Small town was part of your parenting strategy?
Mm-hmm.
Or your
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the small town part of, the slow pace of life with kids.
Yeah.
I am not a fast-paced kind of person. I do not do well with lots of commitments in a week, so Grand Forks is the perfect place for us. Yeah.
Okay, so you are a professional artist. How should we bridge into this? I mean, obviously you live here, you work here.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your income?
I mean, it would be nice for it to be my income. Not currently.
But it is what you do.
It is what I do I do make money creating art.
Okay.
Not,
You're not relying on it necessarily as an income.
It's not my sole income.
Yeah.
But it does contribute for sure.
And how or who contributes to that? Who purchases art from you?
I mean, anybody. So far, I've actually shipped most of my art elsewhere. So I use, social media for a big portion of that. Yeah. Having said that, we, Tess and I had our installation kind of over at the gallery a few years ago, which was really, really cool to do. And I do rent art out in town through the gallery and stuff, which is cool to go into the library or different, sometimes the bank and see your art hanging up in the bank or my art, which is really cool. But
can you explain that program a little bit more? I've noticed, so when I go to the art gallery, they have a separate showroom that has art by local artists that is available for rent. Is that right?
Yeah, so they have, there's the art rental program, so you can go into that space at the gallery and check it out, and if you're like, I really like this piece, I want to hang it in my business, whatever that looks like, there's a monthly fee. I think they do it maybe by a 3-month contract or something.
Like that,
and then, so the artist gets a portion of that, and the gallery gets a portion of that, which is really neat, so,
And that's all down to Tim Benwick, the curator, who's he seems like...
Dasha actually does that
awesome.
one, so I talked to Dasha, You have to be a member of the gallery to participate in that program, but it's not. I think it's $30 a year.
Something
to be a member of the gallery, which
So when you had the art in there, how did it affect you guys? How did it bring more attention? What kinds of things did you notice as a result of having the art in front of the public?
It's really neat to see people come up to you and go, for me, I've been in places in town and go, oh my God, you're the artist that, or I've seen your painting. I really love your X, Y, and Z painting that I saw at whatever business. So that's really cool to be able to walk through town and, people recognize me. Something I never expected to happen, but that's kind of neat. So,
very cool.
And you and Tess are working on something pretty cool right now that is community minded, supporting a group of high interest to this panel. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Birth Project is kind of what we've dubbed it. It's called Birth in Brushstrokes, which is essentially us sharing women's stories of their birth experiences through art mainly. So we paint on pieces quite large like this, actually bigger even, painting birth images, which is the wildest thing to be able to paint, but it is like
Right.
the coolest thing to paint.
Yeah.
I don't see birth art very often, especially not at this scale, which is really neat. But birth is so empowering and it's so powerful. Even if you've had a traumatic birth, which a lot of the women that we speak to have very awful, horrible stories. So it's very therapeutic for them
To see that painting.
to be able to have a painting and have, like, a lot of women get a lot of healing through the art that we create.
Yeah.
So our ultimate goal with that is to actually, we've just sent an email off to Tim at the gallery to possibly book an exhibit with those pieces. But the other portion of that is to publish a book with all the art and women's stories that sort of go with those. So it'll be it's a cool project. We've been working on it for 3 years almost now.
Yeah.
So it's not a
People
short
know
one,
about it.
but
It's
it's a really cool project. So
cool.
And so with that in mind, local support for that, I mean, if you can book yourself in for a gallery show and have more locals seeing it. I know a lot of, like, as soon as people know about the project, you've got mothers that are just like dumping their hearts on the floor right in front of you, right?
Yes.
What's happened with the community of mothers here? Have you noticed anything in particular?
You know what? It opens up the conversation, which is really neat. It's amazing. A lot of people think that birth is like this private thing that they just keep to themselves and their families. But I think with the conversation that Tess and I bring to the table, especially when it's with art and just seeing how beautiful birth can actually be, you know, like, I don't know, I remember growing up and people, even my own mom, like, well, I don't want that to be recorded. I don't want people to take pictures of me birthing my babies. But I think seeing it through a different lens opens up sort of the beauty, really, truly, of what birth can be, and the sort of therapeutic side of what it can bring for a traumatic birth.
Yeah.
And then education and different things can, be provided through that as well. So for physiological birth and birth stats and education and, being able to advocate for yourself in the birth world and the medical system. And there's just so much to it. Yeah.
So as a bit of a segue then, well, not a segue, further the conversation. So here you are, an artist who's working on these projects. You're looking for local exposure and interest. One of the things that immediately springs to mind is that we aren't allowed to have babies in Grand Forks. So when people question, what is the role of an artist in the community? What do they do and how do they further life in the community? What do they do? Well, you're bringing about a really important conversation, which is the key holders to these families, right?
Yeah.
We're isolated and we're told to leave town and we're made to live on our own in foreign communities waiting for babies to come, or making really dangerous and desperate trips on snowy highways in the middle
Which
of the
I've
night,
done,
in order to stay at home long enough to keep our families supported and cared for. So what is an artist's place in this case? It's to push the conversation that we need maternity care available to families.
We absolutely do. It's one thing to have, prenatal care when you're in town, but to have a place to be able to birth safely without having to leave your home community. I mean, I don't think most people realize the gravity of what happens in birth when that happens. When you're removed from the safety of your familiar surroundings, that changes birth significantly and changes what can happen, and it changes your feeling of safety. And then your support system as well, especially for those who already have children or animals or a home that needs to be cared for while you're gone and you want your partner with you most of the time. Like, it's a really big deal. So that's pretty big for us.
It is, and it's an interesting way to interpret the role of various community members, right? An artist isn't just for something pretty, right? An artist can really forward a really necessary component of community living. Most people probably haven't necessarily connected going to see a gallery or a show at the gallery, or paying membership to our art gallery, or renting a piece of art from the gallery with supporting maternity care within our community.
Right. That's really cool. Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like this is a really great opportunity to bring awareness to that, and that sure, the birth community around the world could benefit from an overhaul really. But how can we improve living conditions and family life here in Grand Forks? Go to the art gallery. That's all it takes.
Absolutely. Yeah, truly.
You want to build a birth here? Go see the pictures. Yeah.
Well, it's a step
It's
forward,
true,
right?
yeah.
And actually, one of our
certify it.
one of our big goals with the project is to actually, and we were like Tess and I have been going through the motions of, well, do we want to take the program or do we want to give it to somebody else? But basically, to be able to fund one or two people to take a doula program so that we have more support in the community is one of our big things. It's not that it doesn't provide the capability of having a baby without medical support in town because we're still not allowed to do that, but having the doula support so that if you do need to travel, you have somebody that you can have that extra external support from. I mean, we do have some in town, but it's very limited. We're a small community, so
And none of us are qualified.
yeah.
None of us are qualified, but I'll get in your car with you. If you and your husband need to drive to Nelson, no, I'm not gonna ask you to do that by yourself, right?
Yeah.
It just seems so scary.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and I just had a baby 7 months ago,
Would you like to tell us about
and
that?
having Tess there with me as my doula was
So
unlike anything else. I've never had a doula before. This is my third baby, not mine, surrogate baby, but as most of you probably know. But it was that support. Like I couldn't have had the hospital birth that I did have without her there. I have my own thoughts of the medical system.
Yeah.
So I think having that support for what you need is imperative, even for a partner who may not know how to support you. A doula does know that. That is their job. That's the only thing that they are there for, is to support you and your partner. So that's part of why for us, that's a big portion of our project.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So bringing awareness to your birth project in particular, Birth and Brushstrokes, Tess, will open the door to conversation. What's a doula anyway, right? Like when I told my husband that that's who's coming to our birth, I was like, a what now? I just don't know. People don't know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can women that have photos, I guess, of their birth commission you to paint it, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two different avenues. We can do commissions. So what happens if it's under the umbrella of Birth and Brushstrokes, we keep the paintings.
Right.
However, we do sell prints of all of our paintings. So we have actually sold most of the women who have allowed us to paint from their photos, and photographers. We've actually offered prints, and a lot of women have purchased prints of their paintings of them and their babies and their families. So that's really cool. So that's actually another avenue. So if you didn't, want to commission, however, that is another option, is to commission your own piece exclusively. Just, you could do what you want with it. But that is outside of the birth project. So, otherwise then we'll paint, if it does go under Birth and Brushstrokes, then we'll, have it as part of the exhibit possibly, and the book. And then stories as well. We are including stories and photos. We have to curate which stories and which photos. So not all stories will be matched with all photos, like your own birth photo and story. There's a little bit of editing that has to be done there, but
So cool.
but it's a really exciting project.
And a way that we could drum up local support for that project doesn't necessarily, like, if you're a man who owns an insurance office, you probably don't need a crowning
Probably not.
But if locals that were interested in commissioning other works of art,
Yes.
that could contribute to your income, which then allows you the freedom to work on these more philanthropic projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is, yes, exactly. Because as it stands, the birth project isn't, we're not making a whole lot of money through it right now, because we're sort of just compiling all of these things to be able to produce a book and an exhibit. So we've sold a few paintings, which is really cool. We've actually had 2 of Tessa's gone to Spain, which is incredible.
Super cool.
Which is really, really
You
cool.
would not believe what it took to coordinate those.
They lost one actually for a few months,
Oh my
and it was this size, so it's not like it's a small. Anyway, it was a it was an adventure, but but it's been really neat actually, just to see how it affects people from all over the world, not just locally.
I'm so curious, someone in Spain, like what type of person is buying
I will tell you.
birth?
I will tell you. So she was a mother of a daughter who's a midwife who feels very much about birth just as we do. So the one photo that Tess had painted, was of a mother holding her baby with the midwife's hand and the partner's hand. So it was a beautiful piece.
Right, for her.
And she wanted it for her daughter to hang in her office at home or her office, her clinic that she had where she sees patients.
Cool.
Yeah. That's actually one of our goals is to get some of our birth pieces into even our local spaces where moms would go to have their prenatal appointments.
So there's a lot of like hockey pictures, right? Like
yeah,
What's that?
yeah,
In-
or like
in
photos
birth,
of
in the doctor's offices.
Yeah.
Because there's no midwife here. There's no nurse practitioner here. There's no birth center here. So if you want to see, we do have we have adequate perinatal care here, but you are going to see a GP in a doctor's office here.
It's not.
It's not like going to see your midwife.
No.
It's the same.
no.
And that when I was pregnant with my first, I'm the type of person that I need to have all the information. I need to just know what to expect. And so I did go on YouTube and watch like the graphic, to me at that time, because I had never seen a birth.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to see what it all looked like and I wanted to hear the sounds and all of the things.
Good for you.
If I had walked, and it helped me, it was good.
Mhm.
And anyway, if I could have gone to my midwife or even my doula or even where we went for our prenatal class and there had been paintings, I think that would have actually been really, really helpful for me. I wonder if I would have needed the videos as much, right?
Yeah.
So there's something about like, especially a first time mom, not knowing what to expect. And so there would be a lot of value probably for seeing
Yeah.
something like that.
We're also working on a coloring book actually, which is really cool for birth prep, because for us that was really important.
Yeah.
When as you're nearing the end of a pregnancy and preparing for your eventual birth, whatever that looks like, it's a very spiritual journey in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Tess and I talk about it all the time. But so that's a big. We're going to be ordering that in a couple weeks, within the next 2 weeks, and selling that.
These
So
same
that would
images
be
in a
similar images. Yeah, lots of birth images and babies and pregnant
There's
women
lots
and
of
all sorts of
lots of like in utero like bisection
Right.
almost babies.
yeah.
Will those be available for sale locally?
We're hoping to. We are, and this is where the whole conversation of the local community comes in, and we're going to approach a few local stores in town to see if they'd be willing to sell it for us. So,
Awesome.
which would be really cool.
That's great.
So I have a question. You said that most of what you sold is not local. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How much more beneficial would it be to you, or not, if you could sell more actually locally?
Well, for
here
one,
in-
it's just so much easier because, and it also actually allows the cost to stay a little bit lower, because obviously I have to package these up and ship them, and they are not small. It is a lot of work. So, the other thing is, and a few people have said to me, the art looks different in person than it does in a photo. So when you have people buying art online, it looks so much better in person when you can see it close up with all the detail.
There's a lot more confidence on the purchaser's side.
I think so. You can actually see and you can look at it, and short of touching it, you have a lot better of an idea of what you're purchasing. So, yeah.
If you do end up with this may be premature, but if you do end up with a show at the gallery, will there be works available for sale there?
Absolutely.
And otherwise, they would contact you. Individuals can contact you through Facebook.
Yep, Facebook or Instagram. Yep.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any like parting words that you feel like you have like a soapbox sermon you like, or the bold declarations,
I mean, other than I think that having an artist in a small town is no small feat. It can be very difficult. So, but I'm very passionate about supporting local as well. So being able to support your local artists in town also helps them and their families to support other local businesses, which is really important to us as a family. So, so it's it's a cycle, right? It's a whole beautiful cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. We spend money with you. You spend money with us.
Yeah.
It all goes around.
It does.
Yeah.
So and a business, sorry, we're gonna come back in here. But a business could support you in more ways than even just buying it, but they could place it on their walls. Is that correct? So just like get people's minds thinking about what type of businesses might have, because you don't just do the birth paintings. Maybe you need to touch on that too.
Yeah, I don't do
Talk
just
about
birth.
all the
I mean,
other-
I
This is
do.
not a birth.
This is not a birth piece. This is very different from birth.
No, exactly.
This one actually lends more to sort of a subject that's been really weighing heavily on me lately is addictions. I just lost a family member a couple weeks ago to addiction. My own sister has struggled with addiction. People that I love in my life. So this is actually a new series that I'm working on, which focuses on addiction, which is a whole other community aspect.
Right? This is
It's
living in a
just
small
like-
town.
It is, and then the struggles of people. So it's it's a much heavier. Well, I don't know if it's heavier. It's just different. So yeah, but I do portraits that are, I do memorial portraits. I do just fun kids portraits. I do pet portraits. I do all sorts of things. But coloring pages. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot, but
What do people want, right? As someone comes to you out looking for a commission, it's a collaborative process.
it definitely is. Yeah. It's not an easy one, but I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, so locals can come to you and have their photographs painted by you. And then businesses can take things that you've already painted and put them in their space, right? And could it be for sale in their space kind of a thing? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I mean, I've approached, even, Spoon and Joe businesses like that. They'll put art on their walls and they'll take a commission. This gallery, same thing. They'll take a commission to sell a piece of artwork that's hanging in their business. I could also rent directly to businesses as well without going through the gallery. Not that, obviously, the galleries are a great option.
They do a really good job.
They do a beautiful job, and then it's hands off for me, so I actually quite like that part about it. But yeah, there are a lot of avenues